very good evening and welcome to another edition of Bophelong right here on SABC News. I am your host, Bophelong. On today's show, we talk about a skin condition that is very much misunderstood in South Africa. Many call it mollo wa badimo because it is associated with a curse from the ancestors. This is just one of the many myths that plague people living with vitiligo. As we learn more, today we meet Petronella Tlong, who has vitiligo, and she talks about how she lives with this skin condition. Take a look at this.
Vitiligo is a condition that causes depigmentation of parts of the skin. It occurs when melanocytes, the cells responsible for skin pigmentation, die or are unable to function. These patches develop and enlarge only in certain areas of the skin. The increasingly spreading skin condition cuts across all skin types, all skin colors. Some of those who have been bewildered by the condition think it is a curse. Khaune Petronella Tlong was 4 years old when she was told that she has mollo wa badimo. The elders advised her parents to obey the ancestors' instructions by embracing the practice of traditional healing.
I started having vitiligo at the age of 4 years, and it started on my knees. But it was just small patches. I was in the rural areas. I was just a child, so obviously I didn't care that much and all that. And then I grew. When I was growing up, like my grandparents were telling me that it's mollo wa badimo. I don't know, something that has to do with the ancestors. And as I moved to Joburg at the age of 10 years, that's when I started experiencing problems. When I went to my primary, because some kids will call me black and white because of the white patches. And the others will call me twin color. Others will call me a charming lion, like, changing colors and all that. I was being teased because of the skin color. By then, I didn't know that it was vitiligo.
At the age of 14, Petronella's vitiligo mysteriously disappeared, leaving her with the hope that she might just get an opportunity to fit in with her peers who were a couple of shades darker. However, the white patches reappeared a year later, only this time permanently.
For me, when it disappeared at the age of 14 years, that's when I started my high school. I was kind of relieved because now I was just normal, looking like all the children, playing with everyone. No need for me to hide, no need for me to, there was no need for me to wake up in the morning thinking, what are they going to call me today?
Ashamed of her skin depigmentation, she covered up her skin in every way possible. She avoided socializing with friends. She was always indoors, at times even missing her lectures.
Obviously, I was not comfortable with people, like, going out and all that. And then I remember at some point, a friend of mine from university, she was having a 21st birthday. So the dressing code was mini skirt. Oh my God, wait. That was a mission for me. I even thought, okay, let me not go to the party or something, because it was October. So I went and bought a mini skirt, like, for the dress code and all that. But likely pantyhose were in fashion, so I had to get pantyhose just to cover it. And by that point, like, neither of my friends or anyone asked me about it. So maybe they didn't ask me about it because they were scared that it will offend me or they'll make me feel uncomfortable.
Life seemed like an unending emotional roller coaster for Petronella. Overeager friends and family tried to prevent the skin condition from spreading on her body by subjecting her to harsh medication and remedies that sometimes made her ill.
At some point, my parents tried so many medications. They took me to Bara Hospital. They took me to some dermatologists. They gave me ointments. I didn't really like medications because some of those ointments, they were smelling like, they were smelling too strong. So I was feeling like maybe I'm a walking pharmacy or something, like, you're smelling different from everyone.
Eventually, vitiligo rapidly spread all over her body. She slipped into depression and resented her siblings for not inheriting the skin condition. This created conflict within the family, so she turned to a friend for support.
I just asked myself, like, out of 4 of us, like the children, why does it have to choose me? And then I realized later that no, it's genetic because my aunt, which is my mother's cousin, she also has vitiligo on her neck.
During one of the many conversations she had with her best friend, Petronella started looking at opening communication channels with other people suffering from the same skin condition as her. She then initiated online multi-chat sessions with other people across the globe.
I remember at some point, I just cried alone in the room, and I ran to my friend's room. I told her, I opened up to her, telling her how I feel about vitiligo, how it affected me. And then after talking to her about it, that's when I realized that the more I speak about it, the more I tell people about it, that's the more I feel comfortable, and I started being myself, like, you know, being able to wear things that I used to wear. I'm no longer feeling ashamed on, like, no, every time I have to think about something covering my body and all that so that people don't see it.
Petronella regained her confidence. After her conversations with other people living with vitiligo, she began wearing dresses that exposed her skin. Shortly after she met and fell in love with her husband, she became concerned that she would pass vitiligo onto her offspring. It seemed, although her husband had accepted her as she was, Petronella had not accepted herself.
First time when I met him, he did ask me a question, like, you know, like, what happened to your skin? Because he didn't know. He just asked me because he wanted to know what was happening. But then, like, it was just small spots there and there. And then I told him that, no, I have a skin condition called vitiligo, and I told him about it. And he was supportive because when we started dating, then I had vitiligo already. According to medical research, it shows that it skips generation. But then at some point, I was scared that if my children have it, how will the world look at them, and how are they gonna respond to the state that they're getting from the community and all that.
Shortly after her wedding, Petronella gave birth to a baby boy. The medics cleared her son of the skin condition. She was relieved that her son would not face the kind of discrimination that she had gone through.
I once saw a flower blossom through 27 prison bars of yesterday's unjust flames. I felt an old woman's anticipation for the country's first open elections. And I heard the loud celebrations of that flower's historic inauguration. I was there when Unity sang of how the Springbok never held anything back, and we saw a first-time band of 11 men, Shibobo possibility throughout the land. At the foot of Africa, time remembers how truth can reconcile a people. We carved our name into space, and on the world stage, our art stood united. When we blow that vuvuzela, the whole world goes into a trance. And even in that tearful hour of the flower's separation, we are a people who see the music and hear the flowers dance. SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Zoom into Africa. This is Burkina Faso. The president is Mr. Blaise Compaoré. Burkina Faso got independent from France on 5th August 1960. The population is more than 17 million people. One of Burkina Faso's major languages spoken is French. Monetary unit is CFA.
Welcome back to Bophelong, a place of hope. Petronella, in this next insight, talks about how she deals with discrimination from the people in her community. Take a look at this.
Petronella continues to research on vitiligo. The research is a form of empowerment for her, and the information that she has gathered in the research has afforded her the opportunity to better educate other people who are living with the skin condition.
I just grew up knowing that it's genetic, because those are the dermatologists they were telling us, and then can be combination of wrong food, like you ate your fish and you drink your milk. Maybe can be because of environmental factors. There's no really they don't really know the cause of vitiligo, and that's why there's no permanent cure for it. But you can take some medication or go on a specific diet to maintain it, not to spread.
She started a website called Beyond Vitiligo for people living with vitiligo to share their experiences. The website also serves as an information engine on the skin condition for the general public.
I started having an idea of Beyond Vitiligo 2009. That's when I started talking about it. That's when I started realizing that no, we need a vitiligo support group in South Africa, because maybe there might be someone out there. It might be a teenager, it might be someone who's not a teenager or someone who's older who also needs the support that I needed back then when I didn't have it. That's when I started the organization Beyond Vitiligo in 2011.
Her support base is now bigger than she had imagined it would be when she created the Beyond Vitiligo website. Her husband and son support her as they know her as the loving wife and mother, not the woman with different shades of skin color.
He's been very supportive from first day, because when he met me, I had vitiligo already. And then when I told him that I have an idea of starting Beyond Vitiligo NGO for South Africans and maybe go beyond the country, he supported me, and he's the one who's been helping me and with the marketing and the web designs and everything. My son, I think he's reacting fine to me, because he always knew that mommy has vitiligo or something. Even though obviously he's 2 years old, he doesn't really understand. But I know at some stage, maybe when he's 5 years or 4 years, when he started understanding, he might start asking me questions, mommy, why you look different, and mommy, what happened to your skin? Because he doesn't have vitiligo like me.
Having experienced rejection and constant stares from people, Petronella has joined both national and international conversations to empower people living with vitiligo around the globe. She shares about World Vitiligo Day in honor of Michael Jackson.
It's on the 25th of June, and the reason that the 25th was chosen is because it's dedicated to Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson, he also had vitiligo, even though he never spoke about it. So people thought that Michael Jackson, maybe he was trying to be white or something, but he had vitiligo. This is a t-shirt that we received this year for World Vitiligo Day that we're supposed to wear on the 25th. So they send them to all the other vitiligo support organization in all the countries.
After the break, we speak to Dr. Petunia Dlamini about vitiligo. Stay right here.
Dumelang Kunjani Nda Assalamualaikum Goeiemorgen Namaste Jumbo Africa, and a very warm welcome to SABC News Channel 404. South African Revenue Service has upheld its impressive record of collecting taxes. SARS collected about 86 billion rand more in the fiscal year compared to the previous year.
The message we want to communicate is that government must also live modestly, and that when we're looking at these sorts of issues, modesty is an important message to communicate to the public.
That's AM News, daily at 10 a.m. on SABC News.
forensic audit report has found that the Independent Electoral Commission's procurement of new premises was neither fair nor transparent.
That wasn't a nice experience to see someone die like that. 18-year-old, I mean, he's still a child.
It's very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very great.
Locals say they have their own big five: cattle, sheep, horses, donkeys and pigs.
That's Morning Live, daily at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
Vitiligo may be a skin condition that many know little about, but we can all put a famous face to it. In fact, one of the most famous individuals of all time, Michael Jackson. It was obvious that Michael Jackson's skin grew more pale during the mid-1980s. The media, in their frenzy, stated that Michael bleached his skin and changed his features to appear European. It is well documented, however, that in 1986, Michael was diagnosed with vitiligo, a chronic disorder that causes depigmentation of patches on skin. In 2010, just a year after his death, the Los Angeles County coroner released an autopsy result which confirmed that the king of pop did indeed live with vitiligo, although he wasn't very outspoken about the condition. We hit the streets to hear just how much or how little South Africans know about vitiligo.
I don't know much about vitiligo, but I just know it's like a skin problem.
And TV chumu vuvabyi lebya vitiligo swi nga tsakisa ku vanhu va yi dyondzisa hi byona ku ri hi kota ku byi preventa bya sungula.
So I know it's got something to do with the pigmentation, and maybe there's an imbalance of the tones or something in the skin. I'm not sure, but I know that it's a problem that occurs later in life or when you're born because you catch it.
Many other myths on this condition are: vitiligo is contagious. The white patches spread if you consume milk and other white foods. In some tradition, it is considered a curse from the ancestors who are not pleased with you. And now joining me in studio to give us more information on this skin condition is a dermatologist, Petunia Malahlela Dlamini. Petunia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So, you know, with the skin conditions such as vitiligo, as earlier I mentioned, in the townships and also in small areas where they don't understand the skin condition, they call it moloabaldimo, meaning that it's a curse from the ancestors. How do we educate people about what vitiligo really is?
Thank you for that question. There are currently drives going on. We do have a vitiligo society, South African Vitiligo Society. And we had one, we were celebrating on the 25th of June this year, Vitiligo Day, World Vitiligo Day, where we were trying to focus on educating people. And we do also, as dermatologists that are treating the skin condition, do try and educate. There is support where patients can actually have discussion groups, support groups, where they can get support as well as knowledge.
So now let's talk about the skin condition. What is it? How does it come about?
Vitiligo is an acquired skin condition, okay? In 30% of patients, it can occur as a hereditary condition. But majority of patients, it is an acquired skin condition which will occur usually before the age of 20, and it leads to patches, white patches on the skin. It can be limited and it can be generalized. As to why people get vitiligo, we're not really sure. There are various pathogenetic mechanisms that we're thinking of as scientists, but none of it has been solid. I mean, there are things like autoimmune diseases. There are certain cases, less than 30% of cases, where there are associated diseases. And we know that when we treat those diseases, we actually can control the vitiligo. But it's not everybody. There has been also thoughts of nerves in the skin that are problematic, but it is not consistent with every patient that presents with vitiligo. So it is a puzzle to us.
Yes. Are there symptoms that one should look out for?
There's generally no symptoms unless it is associated with a specific condition, as I've indicated. Problems like thyroid problems, diabetes, and pernicious anemia, but that involves less than 30% of people. But generally, it is asymptomatic, no pain, no itch, no rash. You just wake up one day with a white patch on the skin, and it can progress over a period of weeks, days, or months, or even years. So it is one of those skin conditions that is so unpredictable and can cause distress to a patient.
And when you wake up with just one patch on the skin, and of course, I'm sure it causes panic, what can one do? The first thing that one should do?
The first thing that one must do is present themselves to a dermatologist where they can be assessed to say, definitely this is a patch of vitiligo. And of note is that it is important to start treatment early. Success rate is literally linked to early treatment. We know that if treatment is started at least less than 1 year of developing the first patch, we can really achieve clearing of the disease. But if you leave it to, later, especially after 5 years of having had the disease, most forms of treatments that are available will not be successful in treating it.
Auspicinia, you're calling it a disease, and the lady we spoke to earlier, she said that it's not a disease, it's a skin condition. What is it?
It is actually a disorder. It has no impact on your systemic being. Everything works well. It's just that you have a specific cell which sits on the skin called a melanocyte, whose main function is just to produce color. And this is the color that differentiates all the different tones that people have, from Africans to Asians. Basically what happens is that something destroys that cell, and therefore the cell is unable to produce the pigment that gives us the color that we call melanin. And in those specific areas, then you get a white patch. Other than that, absolutely nothing wrong with the person.
And anybody can get this disease. It doesn't have color, race, age, gender.
It involves it. Currently, we know that 0.5% to 1% of the world population is affected by vitiligo, and it cuts across all races, any age group. Males and females can equally be affected.
Just to follow up on that question, also white people can have vitiligo, as you said, that the top layer of your skin starts to peel off, and when you're dark-skinned, that's when the white skin underneath starts to be visible. So with white people, is it different?
Can affect both white and black people. It is more visible in black people as opposed to white people because of their skin tone. In black people, the pink or the white patches are more visible and can therefore be more distressing.
Okay, so it definitely has no color, race, or gender?
None. It
is a
affects
skin
all
condition that affects
races, all ages, and both male and females equally.
Okay, thank you so much, Ospetunia.
Thank you.
And that's how we conclude today's episode of Bophelong, A Place of Hope. Remember, for more information, you can email us at bophelong@sabc.co.za or on social media at Bophelong Show. From us here on Bophelong, it's a goodbye.